Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. Hope you're doing well this morning. Hello. You've struggling on the technical front here, so we're a couple minutes late, but welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing great this morning, and pray that all is well with you as we begin this Thanksgiving week. We had a glorious, a great Thanksgiving service on Sunday evening as a way to get ready for this week and to kind of get ourselves tuned up for it. We'll have uh, more opportunities to give thanks in the days ahead. Good morning, gang. Hello, hello. Hey, Karen, good morning to you. Hope you're getting ready for a great holiday this week. Morning, all. Hello, hello. Give it one more sec. Hey, Donna, good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Been praying for you and your test results, hoping that good things are coming. There is a good way ahead. You're on my heart. Good morning, friends. Excellent. Yes, thank you. Awesome. All right, let's get going this morning. It is the 25th day of November on this Tuesday at 11:11, and I'm glad you are a part of this journey as we round out this Thanksgiving week. We are the at this point Congregational Church in Fall River. We are the true and last and unadulterated representatives of the Pilgrim's Way. This week really is our week in terms of our understanding and our way of being a Christian in this world, that of the way in which we covenantally seek to bind ourselves with each other and bind ourselves with God, and that Thanksgiving being a principal part of that practice. So this week, not much for thematic stuff with 11:11 our gatherings, but this week we're going to talk Thanksgiving, and there's this line from Acts with the physician Luke is talking about the ministry of Paul and writing down the things that Paul is talking about, and he makes this point. He says that Paul is kind of making this little theological argument. He says, "And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward him and find him." That, here's Paul 2,000 years ago talking about the way in which we gather ourselves as nations, we gather ourselves as people, we gather ourselves as families, we gather ourselves as affinity groups, and that in our times we should seek God and perhaps toward him and find him. The foundation, I really contend that our tradition of this congregational way of being, it really is America's church, and I think it is. I think you can make that case without difficulty, because it's not just the fact that, well, they were, if not first, they were one of the first, but it's not just the fact that they came in search of freedom, and that the Mayflower Compact itself was this first expression, but it's really this notion of a new way of doing what Paul is talking about. That there really is a newness. There really is a difference in how we on this continent come to understand ourselves in relationship to the Creator, versus so much of the rest of the planet. And that part of that is this idea that within these boundaries that we might be able to seek God in a free and not just individual way, because it's not so much about being an individual, but in a way in which that is in fact ours and ours and truly ours. That is covenantal between us and the people with whom we journey, and covenantal with Jesus himself. One of my favorite stories that I just heard, it's really rapidly become my favorite because I just heard it the other week. But it's from my friend Don Bliss. And Don, in his former life, before he became a minister, was a park ranger. And it was his honor to be the park ranger at Plymouth Rock, that point on the globe in which the pilgrims landed in Plymouth, and in which they came ashore, in which they began from that one small step, began to step into this new realm, and in which they would truly create a new realm in their seeking to know God in this new way. And and if you've ever been to Plymouth Rock, and I just had the privilege of taking some friends that were in town a few weeks ago to Plymouth Rock, it's a horrible disappointment. I mean, mostly it's a disappointment because most of the rock at this point has been chipped off and is sitting on somebody's mantelpiece throughout the country for a good 300 years of the rock's history. It was not uncommon for somebody to come down and chip a little piece off and then take it home with them. So that over time has kind of diminished the status of the size of the rock, as you can well imagine. And if you've been there, you know. But it doesn't change the power of the point of where it is, and the power of what happens there and what continues to happen there. In his time as being a park ranger there, when Don was there, this tradition of people, which still exists today, of people coming and throwing a coin at the rock, of having made a pilgrimage to that point. They would make a small offering, whether it was a penny or a nickel or a quarter or whatever. They would make an offering to the rock. In his time, there was continuing to be more and more coins stacked up, and at one point, some teenager kind of fell and broke something trying to get in and scavenge some of the coins, and so the park department decided that something had to be done about this. So they set themselves out to shovel out all the coins that had accumulated over the years around Plymouth Rock. And in doing so, they had to. Whose job was it? It was the park ranger's job. So they began to sift out and shovel out all of these coins, and they would have to take them to the bank, and then now you're dealing with money, and how do you deal with money, and where does it go, and who gets it, and how does it get to all of these contentions. But among all the pennies and the nickels and the dimes and the quarters were many, many, many foreign coins. They were coins from people all over the world who had come to the United States and found a home. And that in coming to the United States and finding a home, they came down to Plymouth Rock and cast a coin upon the rock as a testament, as a throwing away of their old place, of their old allegiance, of their old nationality, and coming to the new one. When he told me the story, I was so touched by it. I mean, might have got a little weepy. Like I was truly struck by this notion and this because of what a beautiful image this was. And he says, "One, just a couple of them. They were from all over the world." He told the story of a double eagle 10 ruble coin, that this massive kind of hunk and chunk of coin that had been left there, and which could have only been sometime around the turn of the 20th century, that somebody either maybe escaping the persecutions after the of the communists after the war, of the Bolshevik Revolution, coming to the United States to make a new life, to make a new, and these and casting their old nationality upon the point of the Plymouth Rock, that they might find a new one in this. And now, before you hear what I'm not saying, I'm not. This is not a testament on our current immigration debate. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about this homecoming, this casting coin upon that rock, because this image that Paul offers us in Acts, where he says, where this is recorded by good old Dr. Luke, this image that he offers us, and he made from one man every nation of mankind. That he's talking about. Paul's talking about Adam. He says, God made Adam to live, and Adam and Eve to live in all the face of the earth, and having determined allotted periods and boundaries for that dwelling place, they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward Him and find Him. Friends, my invitation to you on this day, as we enter into this Thanksgiving week, is this notion that we might cast our coins on the rock of heaven. That all of those who came as pilgrims to this country, and that those who came to the Pilgrim Rock, who came on that pilgrimage and cast their pennies, cast their nickels, cast their dimes, cast their quarters, or cast their rubles, or whatever it was upon them, that we might give up our nationalities of this provincial land in which we have given these appointed periods and appointed boundaries. Not that we should stop being Americans. We should stop being folks from Massachusetts, or we should stop being Mainers, or news from the nutmeg steak, or whatever we might be. But that we should understand ourselves as the true pilgrimage in which we walk on, the true journey in which we are, which is to walk home to our heavenly Father and our heavenly home. That we may have all of these citizenships accumulated to us, but our ultimate pilgrimage, our ultimate walk, is our walk home to the kingdom of heaven. And that the foundational tool of that, the foundational way that we can do that, the way in which our pilgrim fathers have, that they illuminated in their own spirituality, and the way in which they gave us, the way that those immigrant folks that came to Plymouth Rock and cast a coin on that rock to shed themselves of their old allegiance and to take up their new. That in all of it, they came and they lived and they died in the spirit of thanksgiving, of giving thanks for the passage in which they had been through, for giving thanks for the journey in which they were on, for giving thanks for the new land which they were being invited to be a part of, for giving thanks for the very breath in their lungs and the heart that beat in their chest, for giving thanks for the very being in which they lived. That this act of giving thanks is the one that actually brings us into this sphere that Paul is lifting up when he talks about the periods and he talks about the boundary places, but so that those places are established, so that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward Him and find Him. Friends, I hope today and this week is a process for you of feeling your way toward Him and finding Him in the acts of thanksgiving, in the joining with those whom you love, in the making of new friends, in the caring for those around you and for those whom have been given your charge to care for, that in all of it you may know thanksgiving, and you may know grace, and you may know love, and you may cast your coins of old allegiances on the rock of heaven. Peace and grace to you all, my friends, and we'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.